There is that thing about the magic of cinema, right? And the magic of cinema means that there is a big hall, it's a dark hall, everyone sits together, collectively experiences something together. That is movies, isn't
There's
it?
no
That's how-
replacement for that.
Right. So, do you think there is an element of that which is really what movies are? And this is, good quality, but it's really TV. It's great quality television, but it's TV after all. I'm talking about you as filmmakers in terms of an aspiration that you would have about seeing your own work.
But for independent cinema like Scorsese, most of our films were seen on DVD anyway,
Regardless, right?
or on piracy, right? So, I mean, this is a much better format,
Right.
right? People can discover, right? So, you are allowed to make a film on Netflix as you would have made. It's almost like future proof, right? You're allowed to make that film. But then, I mean, there's a practicality of it all, no?
Right.
And it's
Do you think, Hansal, that's something that while it takes you away from the burden of the box office, but really the real game, the real thing, is the freaking big
I don't
screen.
know. I've always made movies or I've told stories to tell my next story.
Okay.
It's always been that. For me, it's been a process of constantly facilitating the next. So the day I finish, I deliver something, I want to move on to my next thing. And if this, whatever medium facilitates that, Scam facilitated that. I'm able to tell a story like I'm doing a show called Scoop for Netflix. Now, that story was facilitated because Scam was a huge success.
Right.
I could tell this unique story.
So the medium doesn't
tell it
matter to you?
For me, the medium doesn't matter. For me, the long form actually has been very exciting. I enjoy the long form perhaps as much, sometimes more than the feature film format, because I'm getting to explore characters, take a character and sort of live with that character for much longer and delve into things that, sometimes for the sake of brevity, I might need to cut out, that you...
Sure.
So everything is a joy. I mean, I had made, for us, for example, I made it for
A theatrical release.
For a theatrical release, and I enjoyed watching it there. The problem was that I watched it with my family. Nobody
What's
else
the problem with watching it with your family?
Nobody else was
with
there.
only your family, okay.
Only me and my family. My family, and some well-wishers. So one day, somebody messaged me, said, Inox is full. And I rushed there. And it was the cast, crew, and their families. So, but the film found its audience on OTT.
Right.
People enjoyed the film. They wrote to me. The film was ranked. It was number 1 on Netflix for 2 weeks, and it was more than what we expected after what happened
Right.
at the theaters. But yes, I do miss. I mean, seeing it alone in that dark room on the big screen. There's a joy. There's amazement. But I don't like seeing my own work there.
Look, Sriram, I don't know. I get a sense that you would be a far bigger purist when it comes to the big screen.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, please prove me right. Like, is that something that sort of draws you far more into this world than just doesn't matter, the medium doesn't matter, the story does?
No, for me, it's not that I have anything against any other format. It's just that because I love movies the most, and I'm getting a chance to still make movies, and therefore the big screen. So even when you're choosing a story or choosing the sort of the talent to go with it, you try to look for, okay, is this something I will go and see in a hall? That's the only question
Pay
I have
for
to
it,
answer.
right.
Will I pay for it? And if I pay for it, it's going to be something worth the time and the money and everything. So yeah, and there is a big thrill of that, which, a lot of people sometimes, my thing with OTTs, even this Monica, oh my darling, has done very well. And I don't think it would have done so well in the hall simply because it would have been edited so much, So the language and all that fun probably was what made it work on Netflix. But for me, I hate it when someone says, I saw this film.
That was a film you were working on, right? That was something...
I was supposed to make it, then I sort of didn't do it. So I was supposed to do it, but I didn't do it. But luckily I didn't do it, and Vasan, I think, did it much, much better. But what I'm saying is, for me, I would still go for the hall. And for me, like standing
So
in
basically
the,
that's a
standing
film
in the
that you-
aisle and watching the audience when they are reacting to your film is
Right.
a huge thrill,
Right.
which is worth it. So.
Which you can't do when you're just watching with your family.
Yeah, yeah. And the hardest thing is sometimes when you hear about some films, which are like, oh, I saw it. No, you saw it at one go. No, seven, whatever installments. I mean, what a way to that's a film. No? I mean, so I think if I'm making something for OTT, I'll still try to make a film and hope that how we used to watch when DVDs and VHS was there. We used to darken the room, put that time there were no phones to put on silent, but watch it like a movie in the house,
Right, right. That brings us to Mr. Ajit Andhare, CEO Viacom. He joins us. Please give him a big hand. We're in the middle of a discussion, Ajit, on this whole revolution, as it were, as we choose to call it, which is OTT, of course, and how that's kind of split the whole cinema world into multiple halves, not even just one. The fact that Abhishek can make a short film, can make a series, can make a film, but eventually the movie industry that we've always known it has been the theatrical world, right? Which is where people come out of their homes, make that much effort, drive all the way down, pay a ticket. Do you think that has changed so far as your work is concerned, where you actually see something as an OTT film and then you see something else as a theatrical release, where you'll pump in that kind of money, hoping that people show up? Can we have a mic for him, please? We'll need an extra mic. No, we'll need one anyway. Oh, okay, great. Yeah.
First of all, apologies for this kind of late entry, and that too in such an esteemed panel. So my apologies to all my esteemed colleagues. First of all, I think to answer your question and head into this straight away, Mayank, I think it's absolutely no longer a debate that there has been a very clear segmentation. And in fact, the more that I think of it, I think we were actually having this luxury where premium content, if you had to see, there was only one place, and that was the theater. Because the other option was television, which of course...
The network television. You mean,
network
right.
television, which has traditionally in India been advertising funded, and that never really produced, high quality premium content without trying to sort of judge the content in any other way,
You already have,
Yeah.
but never mind.
So I think we had that luxury. And if you look back at last 10 years, the kind of films that actually even found audiences in box office is, films like Newton had a 20 crore box office, There were many small and medium films that actually did substantial numbers.
Right.
Now that was because there was no other option and you had to go to the theaters. Now with this simple choice being available, I think the consumer is clearly going to excise that choice that he has. And therefore what has happened is that you have to offer a different value to the consumer when it comes to a theatrical experience. Now what we do is, we normally paraphrase that as spectacle, which I think is only one way of doing it. Because the film that was a massive success, other than of course the obvious ones like the KGF or Brahmastra or RRR, there's also, or
right.
Pathan, there is also Drishyam, which actually is a very important case because it shows that you need not have spectacle as the only route. The classic way of taut storytelling which keeps you hooked and gives you an experience in a way different from a spectacle is also a way to bring the audience to theaters. So, so clearly you have to work harder because people are asking the question that, why do I need to go out there? So an event film has become an even big an event, and drawing people out has become harder. And I think that clearly has pushed innovation. So this splintering of audience in that sense is pushing innovation because we are asking the question, are you sure that this is really going to be something worthwhile in a theater?
Right.
And if not, then should we take a harder look at it and segment it maybe differently and look at it as something which will work on a digital platform? So I think yes, without doubt, this has happened.
And you think that's not a huge change anyway, because there were a certain kind of films that have always been made with a certain kind of budget, with a certain kind of scale, with a certain kind of stars, and that's happening regardless of pandemic or not, or it's just become deeper.
No, I think there is a big change. I'll tell you what that big change is. See, the tent poles were always big,
Right.
but the tent pole or the top has become bigger. So it's a winner takes all. So if a Pathan works, it works massive. But the middle has dwindled. Today, if I have to do an Andhadhun, for example, or if I have to do a Queen, or if I have to do a Mary Com, I don't think it's going to get those numbers in the theatre. You know, they are great films.
But you just said Drishyam 2 made the numbers. So,
yeah, absolutely. So there are different routes.
So we don't know yet.
No, but what I'm saying is we don't know whether this middle, which is a good content film, is going to get the audience to the theatre in the same numbers.
Right.
You know, I think the difference is that because there is a choice, your numbers have changed significantly.
How
So the middle is dwindling.
Right, because this is a director's panel. Ajit, how was your interaction with the directors been since that change took place? Or at least the change that we seem to agree on at this point has taken place in terms of the subjects they come to you with, in terms of the scripts that you're looking at, in terms of directors you want to work with. How has that changed from a corporate perspective, from the perspective where you are sitting with a paycheck?
Look, much before the paycheck comes out, what should come out is your own conviction. So while corporates are always garlanded with this frame of paycheck and suits and all of that, but the fact is, much like the audience, you are the first audience who has to fall in love and be convinced about what story you're going to go on a journey or not. So that has not changed at all.
Okay.
You know, I think every time you hear a story, whether it was pre-pandemic or now, your human reaction, your instinctive reaction to that is identical. And I don't think that changes. All that changes is the way you segment that story, you know. And I think we are all dealing with the same issue. And I think all the directors also, when they are thinking of, let's say, the scale of the film or a scope of the film, this does, I think, somewhere play a role in how that whole thing is sketched out, you know. And that's very visible in the kind of output you are seeing of late. You know? So I think in that sense, we are all in the same boat because we are tackling the same market, which is undergoing the same splintering that we all agree on, you know. But where nothing changes is, you know, you still